So, if you watch my channel, you noticed a couple of days ago, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago maybe, I put up a video on a tool that I had bought to do neck adjustments as far as setting up how much relief you have in your neck. And it was an awesome tool. It was fantastic. It made this so much easier instead of doing the old eyeballing, or like, so many people do, you press down at the first fret, you go up here around, 17, 19, 21, whatever have you, and you touch in the middle, see how much play you have. And that's great, and that works. But that is not dead balls accurate. And if you ever watched my cousin Vinny, that is an industry term, dead balls accurate. So I got to a point where I started wanting my things to be dead balls accurate. And I hit this epiphany when I bought the Jackson guitar that I did the video on a couple weeks ago. It plays good. It doesn't play as good as my J Custom, but it plays good. It played well for proper English. It played well. So when I started setting that guitar up, I thought, man, you know what? I just kind of want to get to a point where all my guitars are set up pretty much exactly the same, because my guitars are set up differently. I have some guitars that are set up with very low action, which makes them a little faster, a little easier for hammer-ons and pull-offs. And then I have some guitars that are set up a little higher, which makes them have a ton more sustain, but they're not very fast. So I thought, you know what? Let's find a happy medium. Let's just start getting things together so all my guitars play relatively similar, being different bridges, different necks, different this, different that. I needed tools. I needed data. I needed hard data. And so in order for me to get data, I had to get things that had numbers on them, because Lord knows we all love numbers. So I went out and I bought the first tool, which was the thing for the neck relief. And that way I could put it on there. I could physically see how much relief I had in my neck, and I could take a feeler gauge, slide it up under there, and I could see exactly how much relief was in the neck. Then I could go and adjust with everything else being even on the other necks on my guitars and get them exactly correct. Exactly to the freaking, I could get them there. And that's what I wanted. But then, okay, now I got to set up the action. How do I get the action? How do I get all the bridges set up the same height? Being everything equal. Sorry, my nose itches. Being everything equal, different bridges are going to be different heights, so on, so on, so on. But I can calculate all that out. I want to get the string the same amount distance from the body, which will let me set these up the same height, and then I can go over here and I can set up the bridges. I can make sure everything's set up, that the nuts are close, and I can get everything pretty much close to equal, so no matter which guitar I pick up, they're going to play very, very similar. And not only that, I'm going to get that magic number to where they have great sustain and they have very good action. So that was the goal. So what I ended up doing is I got on the Amazon also, and I bought this thing right here called the FretGuru 2. As you can see right here, it says FretGuru 2. Now this turns you into a fret guru, I'm assuming, and that's why I bought it. I wanted to be a fret guru. Now right out of the gate, the FretGuru 2, it comes in this nice little pouch. It's a little home here, it's a little cabeza. Now, cabeza's head, isn't it? What am I thinking? Casa? Is that what it is? Cabeza, casa? Whatever the hell it is. It has a home. This is its home. So, it's made out of aluminum, and it has very high contrast writing on it, as you can see. Let me put it back down here for you, as you can see, because everything is painted black, and then all the writing is the actual aluminum, which gives it a very high contrast, which is very, very nice, especially since a lot of the writing on here is exceptionally small. And, when people that don't have the greatest eyes in the world, far away I see fantastic. Up close, not so much. So it does require me to wear glasses when I start doing this, which I wear glasses when I set up my guitars anyway. So anyway, I bought this and I started setting up on my guitars, and I was like, man, this thing is absolutely fantastic. I could go in, I could measure, I could gauge everything. I could see exactly where everything was sitting on all my guitars. I could check my frets. I could check the depths, the gauges. It was just absolutely brilliant, but it had shortcomings. Almost a perfect tool. Almost. But it was still a damn good tool, and a massive difference from what I had been doing in the past, going, Yeah, that looks about right. Yeah, okay, yeah, man. That's what I've been doing in the past. So buying this was a godsend for me. But, as much as I love this tool, it did have a shortcoming. But regardless of that, I was going to do a review on this tool anyway, like I do on everything I buy, because my channel is guitars, gear, and music. And if I find something I think, dude, this thing is game changing, I love this, I'm going to do a review on it, let everybody else see it. And and if you guys like to set up your own guitars, this will definitely help. So what I did is I contacted the guy who made this, as I do everybody, even Ibanez. When I did my reviews on Ibanez, I let Ibanez know, hey, I'm doing a review on your product, just so you know, blah, 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 blah. Ibanez has never reached back out to me or said one damn thing, because they could care less. Regardless of that, I still do them because I love my Ibanez guitars. And I've sold quite a few Ibanez guitars off of my channel. Hell, you can go back and read the reviews. Hey, dude, I bought this guitar based on the review, and I absolutely love it. So on and so on and so on. Ibanez, however, could care less. But I do that on everything that I do. I did the Newx. I contacted them and said, hey guys, I'm doing this. They're like, hey, fantastic, send us a link. I have had my reviews show up on other channels, which is pretty cool, for a guy that has a small music channel like myself. I have had them show up on other channels, had one show up in the UK on another channel over there they used for my, I think it's the 5320 Ibanez that I did. So regardless of all that, contacted this guy and I said, your tool is absolutely amazing. I'm going to do a review on it. Just wanted to let you know. Now keep in mind, I bought this. I buy everything, all my gear and everything I do, I buy. So he instantly replied back, much to my amazement, because you know how the world is today. You contact somebody on a Friday, you will hear back from them on Tuesday of 2068. All right. So he contacted me back instantly and he said, hey, greatly appreciate it. Before you do that though, wait. I want to send you something. And I was like, okay, sure, I can wait. Got nothing better to do with my time. So lo and behold, a couple weeks later, this pops up in the mail. And this is the FretGuru XT. Just when I thought it could not get any better with the FretGuru 2, I was wrong, because they popped out the XT on me, which is that much better. If this is 100, this is 200. It's twice as good. Let me show you what I'm talking about. When I was using this, as cool as this tool was, this tool did have one in particular shortcoming that I was like, oh man, it was almost the perfect tool. It was almost the perfect fret tool. Lo and behold, what I did not know is down in the lair of the FretGuru facility, they were whipping up some kind of voodoo and magic to make a better product than this. And this is what he sent me. Now, I did not pay for this. He sent it to me, but oh well, it's my review. I'm going to talk about things how I want to talk about them. If you've seen my videos, you know how I am. You cannot sway my decision. If it sucks, I'm going to tell you it sucks. And if it's great, I'm going to tell you it's great. You can look at my videos and you can watch them. And all those guitars and stuff I review, I have bought every one. Nobody has ever sent me anything. This is the first time anybody has ever sent me anything. And it was very nice of him to do that. But there again, it does not sway my review. But I got to be honest, the review on the FretGuru 2 was going to be pretty damn stellar, because this thing was just, like I said, a godsend. I was like, oh my God, this makes everything so much freaking easier. I should have bought one of these years ago, when I was a zygote. I should have just went ahead and bought one and saved myself the headache. But I didn't, because, we don't always make great decisions or come to those epiphanies in time. Well, I came to the epiphany when I bought the Jackson. So here it is, the FretGuru XT. Now, he did send me this, but there again, like I said, doesn't sway my decision whatsoever. But the one shortcoming, the one problem, and it was just one, that I had with this, they addressed on this, and I thought, thank God. Now this has become literally the ultimate setup tool. And let me go over this and show you what I'm talking about. Now you can see here between the FretGuru and the FretGuru 2, you can see there's quite a bit of difference in the size, which is nice. because as much information as they put on this, which is a shockingly large amount, they actually put more information on this, which I like even better because I like information and I have more numbers, more digits, more things to look at, more things to calculate. I love that because we all love numbers and calculating crap, and this just makes it that much more fun. So I'm going to go over the XT. I'm really not going to cover the FretGuru 2, which is what this review was supposed to be until this popped in, because this is the new improved super hyper turbo version of that. So let's get started. Now, if you notice what we have here, and this is what I love, this is what's very, very cool. Let me throw on the specs. Yes, you all don't see me wear these a lot because I figure, you know, I'm so sexy without them that when I put them on, it doubles that effect. And, you know, I don't want to drive anybody crazy on my YouTube channel. I know. Just bear with me. Just go with it. Just go with it. So what we have here, if you notice right here, we have inches and millimeters. Now this is very, very cool. You see all these little bitty lines. Well, what these are for is so we can go in here and we can measure our string height on our fret, right? So push down your first fret, go to your E string, and then it gives you a reading of what your clearance is between the top of your fret and your string. That is fantastic. In the past, I have always kind of, like I said, eyeballed it, or I've used feeler gauges in some cases, which I don't like to do because those are in my shop and they're a little greasy, you know, because they've been inside, you know, 9,000 motorcycles. And that's pretty cool. But if you're an old school guy like me, I'm used to doing everything in 64ths. When I started buying my my Wolfgangs, the PV Wolfgangs back in the day when they were making them, was it 95, 96 when they started making them? They came with a little booklet that said, you know, the optimal setup for this guitar is 3/64ths. And I thought, okay, very cool. And I just kind of got in the habit of doing that. Well, if you notice right here on this handy dandy dude here, we have right here, we have 64ths. Right here, we have 32nds. Now, here's the cool thing about it. Here's 3/64ths, which is what I'm used to doing. So let's say I want to start converting everything over to millimeters. Well, not a problem. We got you covered. So if we're at 3/64ths, I can just pop over here to the back where they have this incredibly useful chart, and they break it down in 3 different categories. We have fraction, decimal, and metric conversion. So I can go down here, look down 3/64ths, which just happens to be 0.0469 of an inch, or 1.1908 millimeters, which is basically 2 millimeters, which is pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, that's where Paul Reed Smith guitars come set up out of the factory, is 2 millimeters on the clearance. I have a lot of knowledge about Paul Reed Smith guitars for never owning a Paul Reed Smith guitars. It's very strange. But 2 millimeters. I like being able to convert this that quick just by looking at the chart, because everybody's kind of going to be used to something different. You know, me, I've always been a fractions guy, and till recently I started getting everything over into millimeters because millimeters is just easier, let's be honest. And so I started doing everything in millimeters. My wood shop, everything, I started marking everything out in millimeters because, you know, it's in increments of 10. It's just so much easier. And so, but it's pretty nice to have this chart on the back. So we can go over now. If we want to do 64ths, we can bring it over here and we can, you know, set it down. We can look at the clearance. We can do inches. We can do millimeters. We can do whatever we want, or we can do 32nds right here on the side. Whatever you're used to, this has a gauge for it. Absolutely brilliant. Now, we also have this little 2-inch ruler over here. If you need a 2-inch straight edge, we have one right here, which is fantastic. And then when we get over here, we have this, which is very cool. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any guitars that do not have a Floyd Rose style trim on them, so I do not have a nut slot per se. But this is a nut slot indicator. Now, this was on the FretGuru 2 as well. And then you can see we have the nut slot indicator, and you can see we have all these little lines right here. So you can see exactly where how deep your nut slots are sitting. And if we look on the back, this is something that they added on the XT that was not on the 2. They gave us this pretty cool little diagram right here. See this little guitar neck down here? right here, little guitar neck. And if you notice here, we have an E, A, D, G, B, E string, and it kind of gives us our target areas. It gives us the numbers to shoot for in those target areas so we can make sure we get our nut slots correct. Because nut slots are one of those things over time, sooner or later, you're going to have to work on it, period. Because your string is stainless steel. Your nut slot is not, which means your string is a hell of a lot harder than your nut slot. And if you have a floating trim, over years of that string moving inside that nut slot, it's going to start to cut it like a very dull knife. And over time, it's going to get lower. It's going to have to be adjusted. Enter the FretGuru XT with the nut slot indicator. Absolutely brilliant that he has this on there and gives you little tips on the bottom right here. Let's see, it says here, use feeler gauge, start at high end of range, slightly lower on acoustic, and gives you a little chart of what your target should be. A little chart of what your target should be. And then you have this little gauge, like I said, you put your nut slot in there and you can look at your string, your nut slot, but you can also look at your string action right here. Gives you another little guide for string action, which I find absolutely freaking brilliant. So about any way you want to look at string action, this thing's got you covered. And I love that. That is just absolutely brilliant to put all this information on this little bitty piece of aluminum. I think that's very, very smart. But it even gets better from there. So if we look back over here, now they have included on this one here a string space indicator. Now this is on the XT, the FretGuru 2 does not have this, but it does on the XT. Well, why do I need a string space indicator? Why do I need to know what my string space is? Well, it's pretty simple. At one point in your life, you may have to change your trim system mount, or you may have to change your nut or whatever have you. This is going to let you know exactly your string spacing on what kind of bridge you need to buy. For instance, I believe my Ibanez's come with an F spacing bridge on it. Pretty sure that's what it has on it, which means when I go to buy a Floyd Rose trim, I have to have one that is F spaced, because the pickups on there are also F spaced. And if you ever go look at like a DiMarzio's website and you look at pickups, you're going to notice, you're going to see some that say F spacing on them. And that because everything has to line up correctly. You want your poles to be under the string. Well, if everything's F spaced, but you buy pickups that aren't F spaced, well, the poles aren't going to line up under the string. And if I'm not mistaken also, that was the problem Eddie Van Halen had on the original Frankenstrat, which caused him to turn the pickup because it did not line up correctly. Because I think that was a pickup maybe from a Les Paul that he was putting on something that basically had F string spacing on it, and it did not work. So it's pretty cool that they actually give us this gauge. And if you're not gonna be able to see it because the writing is so small, but you see here you have 0 millimeter, and then it comes across and it has all these numbers. And then if you get over here to like bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, right here at 2/732 or 56.38 millimeters, that is your F wide spacing. So it kind of gives you an idea of how wide your string spacing is going to be. I think that is absolutely brilliant that they added that in. That was very, very smart. Now this does have, if you notice, all these little grooves on it right here. This also came on the FretGuru 2. And what these little grooves are is this is an indicator to check your frets. So let's say you buy a guitar, you buy it used, you have no idea what your frets are. Well, you can start running this on your frets and you find the one to where it fits, and it just happens to be on this guitar, 6105s. So when I put this on, these little sides right here, are just kissing the neck, and the groove is hitting the top of the fret. That lets me know I have a 6105. Okay, great. You have that. What good is that going to do me? Well, what good it's going to do you is, remember the thing I said about the your nut and your strings being stainless steel and your nut not being stainless steel? Well, if you happen to have a guitar that has nickel frets, well, now you've got the same problem. Your strings are stainless steel, but your fret wire is not stainless steel, which means over time, that stainless steel, which is harder than your nickel frets, is going to wear your frets. That's why stainless steel frets are fantastic, and that's why I believe any guitar over $1,000 should automatically come with stainless steel frets. It's not that much of an upgrade. It's not that big of a deal to add them to a guitar. And why they don't have them on guitars over $1,000, beyond me. But you know, look at Paul Reed Smith. All his guitars come with nickel frets, if I'm not mistaken. But that just could be a purist thing. I don't know. Regardless, the nice thing about this is over time, as you play guitar, and if you're an acoustic player, you know what I'm talking about, especially if you're one of those that likes to squeeze the living life out of your neck. When you pick up your guitar strings down here on the first, second, third fret, you're going to have those sharp ridges into the nickel fret. On an electric guitar, though, we don't have a tendency, usually, some people do, to squeeze the neck that hard. But from all the bending that we do in the sliding, with the string being stainless steel, the fret being nickel, it's still going to wear over time. Well, now I can take this handy dandy little tool right here and I can see how much wear I have on my fret, which will give me an idea, okay, is it time to start recrowning my frets or is it just time to replace them? And that's what I like about it. This will kind of let me stay on top of how much wear I have on my nickel frets, so when I know when it's time to replace them. And I gotta be honest, on my nickel frets, I don't crown them. I just pull them out and I start changing them to stainless steel as soon as it gets to that point. I just move them all over to stainless and be done with it. But you may like nickel. But now, moving on to the piece de resistance. The FretGuru 2 I thought was fantastic, but it did have a flaw. And I would have given this a B- on the ratings simply because, I'm sorry, a B+, simply because of the one thing that it was missing. And like I said, I did not know that deep down in the layers of the FretGuru lab, they were whipping up the XT. So the first thing I did when I bought my guitar is I started checking all my frets. I started rocking everything to see, well, are my frets good? So I put the big side on, then when I got up, I went to the shorter side. Then when I got up a little more, I went to the shortest side. Uh-oh. When I got around 19, all right, most of my guitars are 24 frets. When I got around 19, this was no longer usable. I was spanning 4 frets. You cannot check 4 frets. It doesn't rock. You can only do 3. Lo and behold, on the mighty FretGuru XT, they added the 4th bevel. So I'm assuming a lot of the reason why they made it a little bigger was to add this 4th bevel, because you still got to keep all this real estate here, which if I'm not mistaken is the same size as the original, and it is. You still got to keep all this real estate here, but since we had all this extra real estate, let's go ahead and put on some string spacing, add another couple of other extra little, dudes here and there. Let's do this thing down here for your nut slot, to give us the little chart, tells you, what our target numbers should be. Absolutely brilliant. But it also gave us the room to add this 4th bevel. Now I can go over here and I can span my 3 frets and I can rock, when I get to each one. And then when I get to, let's see, still going, that's 9. When I get to 9, I can no longer use this side. So I can flip it over to the next side. You see 3, and now I'm at 12. Well, when I get to 12, I can no longer use this side. So I can flip it over to this side, which is what I did on this one. And then I keep going, but now when I get to 19, with the FretGuru 2, I was out at 19. Couldn't do any further. That's a B+ tool. Why would you give me a tool that doesn't do all 24 frets of my guitar? Now granted, this one has 22. Then they came to the XT. They gave us this. So now from 19 up, I can now do my 3 frets all the way up the guitar. To me, this alone makes this an A+ tool, because now this tool does everything I need it to do. It tells me what all my action is on all my strings and any measurement I could possibly fathom. And if I want to convert it over to whatever have you, it's got this handy dandy conversion table on the back. If I need to do nut slot work on, let's say, an acoustic, well, it tells me what my target should be. It gives me all my different gauges, depths, and gives me my little nut slot indicator, which I also find to be fantastic. Like I said, action, whatever you want. I mean, there's every action measurement you could possibly fathom on here. Got your little 2-inch straight edge ruler. I do have all these little handy dandy grooves for checking out my frets. What size of frets do I have? Which is actually pretty interesting, because kind of an odd story, but my J Custom, I don't know if this was a Sweetwater thing, because that was a limited run guitar, my Red J Custom. I thought they were jumbo frets, but they're actually smaller than 6105s, which I found to be very, very strange. So now I've got to locate that fret wire. Well, I don't know why they just didn't put 6105s on it. I found it to be very weird. But anyway, Now I can check my frets and I can see how much wear I have on my frets to kind of give me an idea of when I need to start doing crown work or if I just need to replace them with something different altogether. Absolutely fantastic. But like I said, the piece de resistance was adding the fourth bevel. Because now I can rock all my frets. Because you ever have that guitar that you're just, we'll say up at the 15th fret and you're on the B string, and when you do that big bend, when you bend that B string, you're bending up to the E note and then it frets out. And you're like, oh my God, all my action is set up perfectly. What is going on? Chances are you got a fret problem. This is what helps you eliminate that fret problem. Well, this doesn't eliminate, it just lets you know that you have a fret problem. And that's why I love this tool. I had this little crappy fret rocker that I've used forever. And it was just, I don't know, it was okay. It did the job. This is 1,000 times better. I like having all the different size, the different widths of everything. This is a hell of a tool. And like I said, this one was going to be a B+ review. I got to be honest, this is going to be an A+ review. I love this thing. Absolutely love it. I love this one, the FretGuru 2. I loved this one, but it had the one shortcoming. The thing with the fret slot, the nut slot, I got to be honest, put it on, but don't put it on. I don't care. Most of my guitars are Floyd Roses anyway. It's nice that it has it on there, but nothing I was looking for. But adding that fourth bevel was something I was looking for. I needed something to let me know exactly where my action was set up so I get everything set up exactly the freaking same. It's laid out very well. It's very easy to understand. Everything that's on it is very high contrast, and adding that fourth bevel was fantastic because I do like using this better as a fret rocker. It is very thin, as you can see here. It is incredibly thin, but it is also incredibly strong. It is aluminum. It should last you the rest of your life as long as you keep it in its little home. That is where that belongs, is in its little home. And I got to tell you, this thing is fantastic. This will go in my guitar bag, and every time I have to change my strings or do setup, I will, because when you change your strings, you have to address certain things on your guitars. Because every time you pull your strings off, that neck's going to relax. When you put the strings back on, it's going to bow back up. It's never going to bow back up in the same spot. Never. But having something like this, it makes my setups so much easier. Because once I get the amount of relief I want in my neck, which is virtually none, I try to keep my necks as straight as possible, then I can just look at my action and you know what? This is just going to be a simple bridge adjustment to get my action where I want it. Because I can get my necks all set up pretty damn accurately. So now it's just adjusting the bridge a little bit, get my action set up, and I'm up and running. This makes that job so much easier. So I will put a link of this down in the description. Actually, I'll put a link for both of them in there. I don't know if they're the same price. I have no idea. This just came out. I don't even know if this is on Amazon yet. This one has been on there for a while. Like I said, I did buy this. This is what this review is going to be. He did send me this. I appreciate him sending this to me. And luckily, he made a great product, so I wouldn't have to sit here and bash the product that he gave me for free. Because if it had sucked, I would have bashed the hell out of it. But luckily, he makes a very damn good product. And I do like the FretGuru stuff. And I'm so impressed with this that when I go to buy other tools, I'm gonna look and see what else he makes first. I gotta be honest, I have no idea what all he makes. But if the rest of his tools, if they're even slightly as good as this, then they're gonna be home runs because this thing is just freaking awesome. And I love this FretGuru. This is the XT. So I'm gonna wrap this up right there. If you have any comments or questions, put it down in the comment and questions section. I answer all questions. Sometimes it'll take me a day. Sometimes it'll take me a couple of days, but I do answer all questions. I do get around to them eventually. Just a lot of things going on as always. And I'm gonna stop it right there. Check it out, the FretGuru 2 and the FretGuru XT. If both are on Amazon available, I will put links on Amazon for both of them. And catch you in the next video.